Hello everyone, this is the 2025 LEGO Star Wars V-19 Torrent Starfighter set, for which I paid $65 US. It's 65 euros, 60 pounds UK, or $85 Canadian for 567 pieces. You have to admit, it does not look great in this form, or at least I think it does not look great in this form, and never really does. That's just the source material for you. But here, you're looking at a lot of anti-studs. You're looking at some over here. It's just a little bit awkward to me. So let me go straight to doing this. We'll come back to the landed mode. Let me go ahead and do the transformation to flight mode so we can really start to try to appreciate this thing the way it was intended. Now this is pod racing. No, sorry. Now this looks respectable to me. This looks like the thing that it's supposed to be. Should this fin here, the vertical fin, be a little bit taller? Perhaps, but I mean, this is not bad. In most of the pictures, especially with the focus on it being in its landed form, it just looked too chunky. Everything looked just too thick, and I understood that that was probably for the sake of durability. The first one that they did, the first minifig compatible one of these that they did, was fragile to say the least and wobbly as heck. This, I mean, I feel very confident holding this by that fin, using that like a pistol grip, and just flying this thing around. I can grab it from here if I want. I'm trying to think, like, what is the most ridiculously fragile area where I could grab this? Grab it just from this area back here. This has durability, and I am very thankful for that. I can grab it by a single wing. That's nice. This feels good, and you know what? It looks good like this. Total transformation really needs to be appreciated like this. Why did they not give us a stand? I had to do a custom, a quick little custom stand for my original one. They should have included something like they did with the Slave 1 kits for this to be able to stand like this, because this is elegant. And this is what you see most of the time when it's on screen. And yeah, not bad at all. The yellow color is probably, well, I know for a fact that the yellow color is a little bit controversial. Some folks are like, what? Why would you do yellow? It's because it's canonically accurate. It ideally should be a little bit frosted, a little bit more orangish than that, a little like a trans flame yellowish orange instead of a trans yellow, but LEGO doesn't have that color yet. Also just a little bit metallic, to be ideal, but yellow is more accurate than, let's say, trans black. Maybe trans brown has enough of the yellow in it that it almost counts, but I actually admire the bravery to go all the way this far with it. Plus, that's a great color to have this piece in with no print on it. I actually appreciate that. It's a very useful part. Yeah, this just looks good from all angles now, or looks plenty good enough. I don't mind the anti-studs here as much because I can see them right here, and it's kind of away from me. It's not front and center. All of the surfaces that I'm looking at right now from every angle, every major angle, are working for me. This does use stickers, so the white color there is much brighter than the color of the plastic underneath. They could have used clear back stickers to avoid that. Thankfully, there's no clear, there are no stickers on clear pieces, so I think it would have been easy to include clear back and then just ended up with a much better result. Just a higher quality result. You've got for action features, you've got your little stud or tile shooters down here, and that's just it, right? Nothing else to see. These joints, as you can see, are using the large Bionicle Hero Factory CCBS style ball joints. It just has a little bit of friction in there, a good amount of friction. I'm not worried about this ever loosening up. Everything is nice and tight. All the parts are captured together, so this is not going to come out unless you want it to. There are no flimsy bits on this that will fall off easily. The worst thing about it, that's actually kind of interesting in its own way, making it a true Y-wing. Look at that. A true Y-wing, huh? I like that. Worst thing about it is just the little bit of snap of the vertical fin into this double clip down here, because it's just, you have this bar which has a little bit of flex in it. You can kind of move just the way that it's not captured fully all the way down here. When those come together, when I was building this at first, it did not feel like those were going to snap together, but now give it a little, just push it a little bit. I don't know if you heard that click, but there it is. Nice and consistent every time. And I've done this a bunch of times it's easy to get it right. It's very hard to get that to not engage properly. And oh, let me test this. It's something I haven't tested before. Ideally, to be fair, I should be doing like this. Wow. Okay. Oh, that's much better than I expected. Because if it was weak, it would be letting go right now. But oh, okay. Well, much respect to the designer then. I did not expect that to survive that. I was expecting this to flop open at some point. Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah. So, durability wise, playability wise, swishability wise, good. Open this up. Easy access for the figure to get in and out. It has the little round cockpit console thing in there, which is appropriate. It does use a sticker, however. And that leaves one thing missing here, which is a spot for the figure's blaster, their own little personal defense weapon, ground defense weapon. No place for that to go. There is a clip right here, but that's going to get used as soon as you do this. So yeah, that's pretty much the worst thing about this. This is also a respectable look too. You think about like Rebuild the Galaxy type stuff, or just kind of thinking outside the box, non-canonical. What other elegant things can you do with slight modifications to your IP based sets? Just run it like that. Like that's valid too. So yeah, very happy with this. It makes sense to me as a toy, and it even displays well as long as it's in flight mode. Does not display well when it's in its landed mode. Now it does land onto the ground securely. It's flat and everything, but just doesn't look great to me personally. That is a subjective thing. Looking at the figures, these actually look pretty good to me. It's nice to get an actual clone pilot who's not just a generic clone trooper who happens to have a little bit of yellow on him. This helmet looks nice to me. When I was building this on Twitch, I first opened it up and put that helmet on there. I just had to take a moment because I had to appreciate the molded in details back here. I really want to see those panel lines, just to scribe it out just a little bit to sharpen up the inside edges there, and just panel line it, just make a little bit more pop, a little bit more detail pop of, for all of those nice little moldings in there. And then the prints are sharp. They're very sharp. The yellow is nice and opaque. You got some really thin lines in there. I know these days it's all the rage to find something that's wrong with this, an angle of a particular line or thickness of a particular line. And that's fine. It's well and good and all, but we do have to keep in mind that no minifigures from Lego are accurate. Not one single one. They're all objectively terrible accuracy-wise because they are super deformed. That is by design. They are super deformed. They've always been super deformed. So you have to keep that context in mind when considering the art choices that they've made. But this figure to me looks good. This one looks good as well with the awesome arm printing, which is also nice and sharp. The white for the plate on the chest is also pretty dang opaque. It's not 100%, but it's darn close. The tan on the legs is just slightly lacking in darkness. Just should have been just a quarter of a shade darker, I think. But it's pretty close. So this printing is really nice. The thing that's missing here is just printing along the side, or dual molded legs. Dual molded legs would have been ideal, but at least some printing along the side of that leg, just to bring this all the way up to full, like maximum potential of what you can reasonably ask for in a mass-produced, relatively small Lego set. I will take the headgear pieces off so you can see more details, but then finally, Ventress with the curved lightsaber hilts brought back. The white there is also lacking in opacity ever so slightly, but it's not too bad. The prints that are here are pretty sharp. Once again, she could have used some printing along the side of the legs or dual molded legs, one or the other, to make that look a little bit more complete. Otherwise, not too bad. The Ventress looks just a little bit lacking in detail for something, or depth for me. But I think the graphic design work is fairly consistent. Maybe this could have used just a little bit more darkness in there. Just looking at how they are depicting folds and creases right now in robes and in cloth in general. Maybe this could have just used a little bit more, some darkness in from the sides of the the wrappings, the bindings there, just to add a little bit more suggestion of depth, a little bit high on the rib cage as well. You know, just a little bit more contrast in that. But otherwise, overall, pretty good there. You can see that this white is just slightly lacking in opacity as well. And there's what those look like with the headgear pieces removed and no alternate face for the clone, of course. And there's your more angry face for General Kenobi. It's kind of a surprisingly large volume of spare parts for such a small set. It's mostly because of the long bar pieces with stopper ring being considered necessary to have a spare for each. And then you have 4 spare shots for your tile shooters. Would have been nice to have a little compartment in the ship to store these as well, in addition to a spot to put the sidearm. And this one had a very special piece included in it. Very special, very rare piece. It's just some flashing. It's just some random ABS plastic that, you know, got stuck in the machine in a wrong spot and got burnt a little bit. Just a little bit of stuff that usually gets discarded. Probably not even recycled because it is partially burnt, but that was just a funny thing. And this is what the sticker sheet looked like. Again, white backed for this one. Too bright. Again, the price on this thing was $65 US for 567 pieces. It's 65 euros, 60 pounds UK, or $85 Canadian. And I just don't see that kind of value here. I definitely don't see that amount of plastic here. Let me widen things out a little bit. Do I see it now that I see more of the size? No, I don't. Sorry if this is a little bit overexposed. I'm having trouble with my whites lately. 45 in 2025, 45, 50 tops. 50 is going to feel like, oh, yeah, that's a 2025 Star Wars, you know, or Disney IP kind of price for something of this size. Yeah, 50. That's where I'm at. That's the lowest price at which I would be willing to recommend getting this at its current price. 65 is just pushing too much. And I don't think that demand for this is going to be super, super high. So I think it's definitely worth waiting for this. If you like it, but you don't feel good about the price, don't go for it. I would just wait, try to find it on sale. Of course, if you're super lucky and you live in a region where stuff is on sale from day one, great. That's awesome. But, you know, most folks in the world don't have that great fortune. So I do recommend waiting. Yeah, like, seriously, $50 is just as far as I think I can possibly go for this. And I don't feel guilty saying that. You know, I don't feel like I'm being unfair to poor Lego, you know. I know they have to make their $2 billion of net profits per year. I know, you know, otherwise they'll just shrivel up like the Wicked Witch of the West, you know, but yeah, it's still, it's just ABS plastic. It's not that fancy. Yes, there's a license behind it. And yes, these figures are pretty nice, but yeah, this really shouldn't cost more than that in my personal opinion. But at least the thing is actually good. Don't like it in its landed position. Put it into its flight mode, and it is nice and solid too. The build is fine. Maybe a little bit tricky at a couple points, but you know, just fine. Just nothing amazing. It's not like a Speed Champion set or anything like that. And yeah, all in all, what's here is good. Price is not. Thank you for watching. Hope this was of value to you, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.